everybody, this morning I am in Carmel, Indiana, and it is actually a really awesome fall morning. But even though it's fall, you can see behind me here, still mowing the grass, and that kind of thing happens for quite a while into the fall. But I am in a spot that's pretty close to Cafe Patachu, which I'm looking at just over here to my right, a place that we eat breakfast quite often. And there's a lot of places in Carmel we actually go to quite often, but we don't live in Carmel. And if you're moving to the area, this video here is just about Carmel, but how Carmel isn't really the only place to live if you're moving here. So we're gonna get into some of what I'm talking about with that in this video, so stay tuned. Hey everybody, I'm Jason Compton with the Compton Home Group. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about Carmel, Indiana, Indianapolis, Indiana, or any of the other cities and towns that we mentioned in this video, then make sure you hit the subscribe button. Also tap the little bell so you're notified every time we do a new video. Now we have people reaching out to us from all over the country with questions, of course, about Carmel, Indiana, but also Indianapolis, Indiana, Fishers, Indiana, Greenwood, Greenfield, Avon, Plainfield, you name it. Questions about pretty much every place surrounding the Indy Metro, including Indianapolis itself. So if you have questions at all about any place or what it's like here, any of the cities and towns, then make sure you reach out any way that you know how. We'll always have your back with those questions, and we'll certainly have your back when it comes time for you to make your move anywhere in the Indianapolis Metro. All right, again, guys, I'm in Carmel, Indiana this morning, and it's a cool morning, so I got a little jacket on. There's a Starbucks right here, which is one that I frequent quite a bit, but next to it is one of our favorite breakfast places, and you can have lunch there too. It's called Cafe Patachu, and we usually go there whenever we're kind of in this area, my family and I. It's just one of our favorite spots. In fact, for breakfast places, I'm gonna walk out here onto Hazeldale Parkway a little bit, just get past this mower. I'm not gonna walk on the street, but you can see it behind me. I'm on the sidewalk, a little trail. Get away from this mower so I don't have a bunch of leaves and grass blown up onto me. The food is awesome at Cafe Patachu. It's a French place, so the breakfast is a little bit different than what you'd find at a typical place, but usually the food isn't necessarily the number one thing for us a lot of times. It's the coffee. So how good is the coffee? And if the coffee's not that good, then I don't know if I want to go there, even if the food's really, really great. But here they've got best of both worlds. Their coffee's really good, and the food is really incredible. So it's a good spot for breakfast, definitely. So we're gonna talk about Carmel in this video just a little bit. And of course, if you live in Carmel, you probably like it. If you live around Carmel, you probably still like Carmel, and you probably come to Carmel for some of the things that happen in the city, because it's a pretty good sized city. There's a little over 100,000 people in Carmel, so it's large enough to really have a life of its own. You don't have to be 100,000 people to have a life of your own, of course, but once you get to that size, then there are certainly some options. Absolutely a lot to do for people there and people that visit, even if you live in the area. Like myself and my family, we don't live in Carmel because the location doesn't work for us, but we definitely would. But we still come to Carmel from time to time for things that might happen. So I'm gonna cross Hazeldale and walk out towards the east into the blazing sun. Oh, it is so bright. Trying to get into the shadow of the microphone here a little bit so I can see. So people coming to this Indianapolis area, say you're moving in from out of state, say you're moving from California or Alabama or Florida or New York or Washington or something like that, wherever you're coming from. Most people will do research and they'll want to know where the best places to live around this area are gonna be. And Carmel will absolutely come up in your research. Now there may be some other places that'll come up too, but Carmel's going to come up. Carmel's been ranked up there by all kinds of organizations as one of the top places to live in the country, not just in this area. But it's not the only one. Westfield's been up there, Fishers has been up there too. But when you're researching this area and you're looking at Carmel, you might end up liking it more and more and more, and maybe you don't. Maybe you end up liking it less and less and less. I've certainly had clients in the past that have gotten to Carmel and it's not quite the vibe that they felt like they wanted. And it's not like people are unfriendly or it's nasty looking. I mean, it's definitely not. People are friendly. It's a really nice looking city. It's just that in most cases, the common thing has been, it's a little too busy for me. It's a little too dense for me. And it's definitely not rural. I mean, not even close to that, but it's also not the most dense city. It's not the least dense city. So if you're looking for something that's way more spread out, it may not be for you. If you're looking for something like New York City, well, it may not be for you. It's not going to be dense enough. It's somewhere in between. But those are a lot of the things that I would hear from people that are, I would say, approaching negative, but they're really not negative because they're just a matter of opinion. They're a subjective thing. But if you got your heart set on Carmel and you absolutely want to live in Carmel, but let's say there's nothing available, or let's say it's too expensive, because when you compare it across the entire country, I wouldn't say it's too expensive, but when you're comparing it to other places around the Indianapolis Metro, yeah, it's without a doubt one of the most expensive places to live. So if you're talking about price per square foot, or just the size of your home in general, the livable space, like a finished basement versus having a basement versus an unfinished basement, something like that, you're gonna pay more in Carmel. You absolutely will, because it's a super desirable place and a lot of people want to be here. But if something like that happens to you, then you can still move to the area. You can get in close to Carmel, but maybe not in Carmel, and maybe 4 or 5 years from now, you can sell that place and use the equity to get the place that you want in Carmel. Now, if you're a family, let's say, that has kids, they're in school, and you want to be in Carmel School District, that's trickier then. It's harder to get in. Not in the schools, but in Carmel, and you may want to be in there, so they're going to be in school through the rest of their school days in Carmel. I understand that situation's harder, but if you don't have kids, or if you don't have kids yet, or your kids are extremely young and not in school yet, that may be a good strategy. Get into some place that's a little less expensive, and then in 4 or 5 years, you can use the equity to move up into a better fit home for you, and then also in Carmel where you ultimately want to be. You could absolutely do that. And then the other option is the fact that Carmel is not the only nice place to live around Indianapolis. In fact, there are a lot of places that are extremely nice to live around Indianapolis. Right next door in Fishers. So you can move into Fishers, you can move into Westfield, you can move into Noblesville. Noblesville I'm a huge fan of. I feel like it just gets overshadowed an awful lot. Zionsville, of course, but it's as expensive as Carmel, if not more expensive. But outside of the north side, if the location doesn't matter to you that much, you could certainly be in Indianapolis. There are so many places in Indianapolis that are exceptionally nice places to live. Phenomenal neighborhoods, super close to just about anything you could ever want or need on a daily basis. Mature, new, you get a variety in the city, without a doubt. It's a nice option. I've lived in all kinds of places in Indianapolis, and I've really liked every single area that I've lived in, and there are plenty of areas that I'd without a doubt be happy living in Indianapolis. But outside of that, you've also got Greenwood, Indiana, you've got Greenfield, Indiana, you've got Avon, Plainfield, Brownsburg, and then all kinds of small towns that surround the city that are really nice places to live too. So the whole point is, Carmel can't be and shouldn't be the end-all be-all for living in Indianapolis Metro. I feel like you could be overlooking a lot of other really, really nice places and possibilities to live, and that includes school corporations too. So I would certainly consider a lot of other those places around Indianapolis in doing your research and seeing if it could be an option for you, because I truly believe you probably have more options than just looking at one specific city. But if your heart is absolutely dead set on Carmel, so be it. It is a nice place, that's for sure. I would have to agree. There is just not a whole lot in Carmel that I would find as being negative. So I would live here too, absolutely. But don't overlook some of those other options. So if you have questions about Carmel or anywhere around Indianapolis, make sure you reach out any way you know how, and we'll catch you in the next one.